I'm about to reveal something so controversial that most spiritual teachers won't dare say it out loud, and it's going to completely flip your understanding of manifestation upside down. Right now, as you're watching this video, there's someone you can't stop thinking about. Maybe it's your ex, maybe it's someone from work, maybe it's that person who ghosted you 3 months ago but still haunts your thoughts every single day. You've been told by every guru, every spiritual book, every manifestation coach that thinking about them is how you attract them back. But what if I told you that's not just wrong, it's the exact reason they're running from you faster than ever? Here's what nobody wants to admit: your thoughts about that person aren't love signals, they're energetic prison bars. Every single time you replay that last conversation, every time you wonder what they're doing right now, every time you check if they viewed your Instagram story, you're literally building an invisible wall between you and them that gets higher with each obsessive thought. The most successful people in relationships, from Hollywood stars to that couple in your neighborhood who seems impossibly happy, they all know this one secret that the spiritual community has been hiding from you. They understand that the moment you start thinking about someone obsessively, you've already lost them. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing, and this is something that will change everything you thought you knew about human connection. That person you can't stop thinking about? They can actually feel your energy hitting them like waves of desperation, even if they're thousands of miles away in another state. Your obsessive thoughts create what quantum physicists call energetic interference, and their subconscious mind registers it as pressure, as neediness, as something they need to escape from. This is why they suddenly become distant, why they stop responding to your texts, why they seem to lose interest the moment you start caring too much. You're not losing them because you're not good enough, you're losing them because you're literally suffocating them with your thoughts. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind: every person you've ever been obsessed with, every relationship that ended in heartbreak, every connection that felt so right but went so wrong, they were all mirrors reflecting the same broken pattern that was programmed into you during childhood. Your brain is literally addicted to the same emotional cocktail you experienced when you first learned what love was supposed to feel like. This isn't about them, this has never been about them. This is about why your nervous system confuses chaos with connection, why familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace, and why you keep attracting the same type of person over and over again, no matter how many times you swear you're done with that pattern. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to break free from these thought obsessions using a technique so powerful that it can literally rewire your energetic field and start attracting genuine love instead of desperate attachment. But more importantly, I'm going to reveal the hidden meaning behind why certain people trigger these obsessive thoughts in the first place, and how understanding this can completely transform not just your relationships, but your entire reality. If you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, if you're ready to understand why your thoughts have been working against you instead of for you, then keep watching, because what I'm about to share will change everything you thought you knew about love, manifestation, and the power of your own consciousness. Why do they pop into your mind randomly? You know that feeling when you're just living your life in Denver, grabbing coffee at your favorite spot in Manhattan, or walking through Central Park, and suddenly, boom, there they are in your thoughts again. It's like your consciousness has this weird GPS system that keeps redirecting back to the same person, even when you're trying to focus on your spiritual journey or that new Joe Dispenza meditation you've been practicing. Most folks think it's just coincidence, but what if I told you there's something way deeper happening here? What if these mental visits aren't random at all, but actually quantum physics playing out in your everyday experience? Carl Jung, that brilliant Swiss psychiatrist, discovered something that'll blow your mind about human consciousness. He found that every person who shows up repeatedly in our thoughts represents what he called an archetype. Basically, they're mirrors reflecting unresolved parts of our own psyche back at us. Think about it: when your ex from college keeps popping into your head, or that colleague from your old job in Chicago won't leave your mental space, they're not just people, they're symbols. They represent aspects of your higher self that are trying to get your attention, like spiritual energy knocking on your door saying, "Hey, we need to talk about this expansion of consciousness thing." Here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something most people never realize. These recurring thoughts aren't about the other person at all, they're about you and your own evolution. That person who keeps showing up in your mind. They're carrying a piece of your divine spark that you haven't fully integrated yet. Maybe they represent the confident version of yourself you're afraid to embrace, or the creative energy you've been suppressing since childhood. Jung called this the projection process, where we unconsciously place parts of ourselves onto others, and then wonder why we can't stop thinking about them. The universe has this fascinating way of using people as teachers in our spiritual journey, even when we don't realize it. When someone keeps appearing in your thoughts, it's like your subconscious is saying, there's still something here for you to learn. Maybe it's about setting boundaries, or perhaps it's about forgiveness, not just forgiving them, but forgiving yourself for whatever pattern you've been carrying. This is where the real magic of co-creation happens, because as you start to understand these deeper patterns, you begin to shift your vibration and attract different experiences into your reality. But here's the thing that might surprise you, and this is where most people get it completely wrong. The more you think about someone, the more you're actually creating an energetic cord between you and them. It's like you're unconsciously sending out radio waves of spiritual energy, and depending on the quality of those thoughts, you might be creating exactly the opposite effect of what you want. When you understand this principle, you start to see how your own mental patterns might be working against your desires for abundance and prosperity in relationships. Now here's where things get really wild, and most people in places like Austin, Seattle, or even small towns across America are completely unaware of this spiritual principle. Every time you think about someone obsessively, you're literally sending them your energy, and not in a good way. Think of it like this: imagine your consciousness as a Wi-Fi router, and every obsessive thought is like spam emails flooding someone's inbox. You think you're showing love or care, but energetically, you're actually creating what Neville Goddard would call energetic desperation, which repels rather than attracts. The universe operates on vibration, and desperate energy has a very specific frequency that pushes people away, even when they can't consciously explain why they suddenly feel uncomfortable around you. This is where quantum physics meets everyday relationships in the most fascinating way. When you're constantly thinking about someone, you're creating what energy workers call energetic cords, invisible connections that drain your spiritual energy and create an imbalance in your personal power. It's like having a cell phone that's constantly running apps in the background, slowly draining your battery without you realizing it. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how our thoughts create our reality, but here's the twist: obsessive thinking creates reality through the back door, manifesting the exact opposite of what you want. You're unconsciously programming your subconscious to operate from a place of lack rather than abundance. Picture this scenario: you're at a coffee shop in Portland, and you see someone texting frantically, checking their phone every 30 seconds, clearly waiting for a response. What's your immediate reaction? You probably feel a bit uncomfortable, maybe even annoyed, right? That's exactly the energetic signature you're sending when you think obsessively about someone. Your spiritual energy becomes clingy, needy, and heavy, which triggers their subconscious alarm system. They might not know why, but they start associating you with feelings of pressure and discomfort, creating the very distance you're trying to bridge through your thoughts. Here's something that'll shock you: that person you keep thinking about can actually feel your energy, even if they're across the country in Miami or Los Angeles. The expansion of consciousness isn't just a fancy spiritual concept, it's a practical reality where sensitive people can literally sense when someone's thinking about them obsessively. It feels like energetic pollution, like someone's breathing down their neck even when they're alone. This is why many people start avoiding or feeling weird around someone who's been thinking about them too much. Your higher self knows this, which is why you might feel drained or anxious after spending hours thinking about someone. You're literally giving your power away. The most dangerous part about this unconscious energy exchange is that it creates what I call vibrational quicksand. The more you think about them, the more stuck you become in a low-frequency pattern that attracts more situations where you feel rejected, ignored, or unseen. It's like being caught in a spiritual energy loop where your thoughts create experiences that reinforce the very thoughts that created them in the first place. This is self-sabotage at its most subtle level, and most people never realize they're doing it. But understanding this pattern is the first step toward breaking free, because once you see how your childhood experiences shape these energetic habits, everything starts to make sense. Let me share something deeply personal that changed my entire understanding of spiritual energy in relationships. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, I had a father who was incredibly controlling, the type who needed to know where I was every minute, who made decisions for me even when I was old enough to choose for myself. He meant well, but his need for control came from his own unresolved fears, and it created this weird energy dynamic in our home where love felt conditional and heavy. I didn't realize it then, but this experience was programming my subconscious to associate control with care, setting up patterns that would play out in my adult relationships. Your higher self is always trying to heal these childhood wounds, but it often does so by attracting people who mirror the same energy patterns, giving you opportunities to finally break free from these spiritual cycles. Fast forward to my 20s, and I found myself consistently attracting women who were controlling, demanding, and emotionally unavailable. I'd meet someone at a coffee shop in Denver, or at a spiritual gathering in Sedona, and within weeks, I'd be walking on eggshells, trying to please them the same way I tried to please my father. It was like the universe was offering me the same lesson over and over again, but I kept missing the deeper message. This is what Joe Dispenza calls unconscious programming, where our past experiences create neural pathways that automatically attract similar situations. The expansion of consciousness happens when we finally recognize these patterns and choose to respond differently, but most people just blame the other person and never see their own role in co-creating these experiences. What's fascinating is how quantum physics applies to these relationship patterns. Every unresolved childhood experience exists as an energetic imprint in your field, like a radio station that's constantly broadcasting a specific frequency. When you carry unhealed father issues, you unconsciously emit a vibration that attracts partners who will trigger those same feelings of being controlled or not good enough. It's not conscious, your divine spark is actually trying to heal you by bringing these patterns to the surface where you can finally address them. This is why the same types of people keep showing up in your life, whether you're living in New York City or a small town in Texas. Your spiritual journey is literally guiding you toward the relationships that will force you to confront and heal these deeper wounds. The tricky part is that these patterns feel normal because they're familiar. When I started dating women who were kind, supportive, and emotionally available, it actually felt uncomfortable at first. My nervous system was so used to the drama and control that healthy love felt foreign, almost boring. This is what happens when your subconscious equates love with struggle. You unconsciously sabotage good situations because they don't match your internal programming. It's like your inner child is saying, "This doesn't feel like love because it's not hard enough." This is why people often leave healthy relationships and go back to toxic ones, or why they can't stop thinking about someone who treats them poorly. The familiarity of the dysfunction feels safer than the unknown territory of actual love and abundance. But here's the beautiful thing about spiritual evolution: once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. When you understand that your obsessive thoughts about certain people are actually your psyche trying to heal old wounds, everything shifts. You start to ask different questions, like what part of my childhood is this person representing, or what am I trying to heal through this connection? This awareness is the first step toward breaking these cycles and creating space for relationships that actually support your growth. However, there's another layer to this puzzle that most people never consider: why we're drawn to familiar energy even when it's toxic, and how our nervous system tricks us into believing that comfort and love are the same thing. Here's something that'll make you laugh and cry at the same time. The word familiar literally comes from the Latin word familiaris, which means of the family. So when we say something feels familiar, we're literally saying it feels like family, even when that family energy was completely dysfunctional. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between good familiar and bad familiar, it just recognizes patterns and says, "Oh, I know this dance." This is why someone from Minneapolis might find themselves attracted to the same type of emotionally unavailable person over and over again, or why folks in Atlanta keep ending up in jobs with controlling bosses. The universe isn't punishing you, your subconscious is just trying to master an old lesson by recreating familiar scenarios. It's like your spiritual energy is stuck in a time loop, replaying the same movie until you finally realize you're the director, not just an actor. Think about it this way: if you grew up in a house where love came with conditions, chaos, or emotional manipulation, your nervous system learned to associate those feelings with home. When you meet someone who's emotionally stable, consistent, and genuinely caring, your inner alarm system goes off because it doesn't match your internal programming. It's like your subconscious is saying, "Wait, this doesn't feel like love, where's the drama? Where's the struggle?" This is what Joe Dispenza calls the familiar past, where our bodies become addicted to the same emotional states we experienced in childhood. Your higher self knows this pattern is limiting your spiritual journey, but your ego keeps you trapped in what feels safe, even when it's slowly destroying your chances for real abundance and prosperity in relationships. The most mind-blowing part is how this shows up in your thoughts and energy patterns. When you can't stop thinking about someone who treats you poorly, it's often because they're triggering the same neural pathways that were formed during your earliest experiences of love and attachment. Your brain literally gets a hit of familiar chemicals, even when the experience is painful. It's like being addicted to a drug that makes you feel terrible, but it's the only drug your system knows how to process. This is why people in places like Phoenix, Nashville, or small towns across America stay in toxic relationships or can't let go of someone who clearly doesn't value them. The expansion of consciousness requires us to step out of these familiar patterns, but doing so feels like jumping into an abyss because unfamiliar territory triggers our survival instincts. Your divine spark is constantly trying to evolve you beyond these limiting patterns, but it has to work with the operating system you developed in childhood. Imagine trying to run modern software on a computer from 1995. It's going to glitch, freeze, and probably crash. That's what happens when your soul tries to attract healthy love while your subconscious is still running on childhood programming. The quantum physics of consciousness shows us that we literally create our reality based on our predominant thoughts and feelings, so if familiar dysfunction feels safer than unfamiliar health, guess what you're going to keep manifesting? This is why spiritual growth often feels uncomfortable at first. You're literally rewiring your entire energetic system to operate from a new frequency. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something most people never realize about their own psychology. Your attachment to familiar energy isn't just about comfort, it's about control. When you know the patterns, even toxic ones, you feel like you can predict and manage the outcomes. Healthy relationships require you to surrender that illusion of control and trust in the unknown, which feels terrifying to a nervous system that learned early on that love equals survival. This is why breaking free from these patterns requires more than just positive thinking. It requires actual energetic healing techniques that can help you release the old programming and create space for something completely new. The ancient Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono offers one of the most powerful tools for this kind of deep transformation, but most people don't know how to use it properly. Now here's where the real magic happens, and this is something they don't teach you in most spiritual circles across America, from the meditation centers in California to the wellness retreats in Colorado. The key to breaking these obsessive thought patterns isn't to fight them or try to think positive thoughts, it's to actually feel the emotions without getting attached to the story. When that person pops into your mind again, instead of analyzing why or creating elaborate scenarios, just notice what you're feeling in your body. Maybe it's a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or that familiar ache of longing. Your higher self is using these physical sensations to communicate with you, showing you exactly where your spiritual energy is stuck. This is what real expansion of consciousness looks like, not escaping your feelings, but learning to be present with them without being controlled by them. The ancient Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono offers one of the most powerful tools for this kind of energetic clearing, and it's ridiculously simple. When you notice yourself thinking obsessively about someone, you simply repeat 4 phrases: I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You're not apologizing to them, you're talking to the universe, to your own divine spark, taking responsibility for the energy you've been carrying. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how our thoughts create our reality, but Ho'oponopono goes deeper. It helps you release the emotional charge that keeps attracting the same patterns. It's like hitting a cosmic reset button, clearing the vibrational frequency that's been broadcasting the same old story. People in places like Seattle, Austin, or small towns in Kansas have used this practice to completely transform their relationship patterns, often within weeks of consistent application. Here's what most people get wrong about emotional healing. They think they need to understand why they feel a certain way before they can release it. But quantum physics shows us that energy doesn't need a story to exist, it just needs permission to move. When you're thinking obsessively about someone, you're holding their energy in your field, creating what spiritual teachers call energetic cords. These cords drain your life force and keep you vibrating at frequencies that attract more of the same experiences. Ho'oponopono cuts these cords not through force, but through love and forgiveness. It's like telling the universe, I'm ready to release this pattern and trust that something better is coming. This is true co-creation, working with spiritual energy rather than against it. The beautiful thing about this practice is that it works whether you understand it or not. You don't need to believe in spiritual energy or even know why you're stuck in these patterns. You just need to be willing to feel what's there and let it go. I've seen people in therapy for years trying to figure out their relationship patterns, and then they learn Ho'oponopono and experience more healing in a month than they did in years of analysis. It's not about the story, it's about the energy. When you consistently practice this kind of emotional clearing, you literally change your vibrational signature, and the universe responds by bringing you different people and experiences. This is how true abundance works, not by trying to control outcomes, but by clearing the internal blocks that prevent you from receiving what you actually want. But here's the most important thing to understand about this whole process: the people who trigger your obsessive thoughts are simply reflecting what's already in your energetic field. They're not the problem, they're the messengers. When you use Ho'oponopono to clear these patterns, you're not just healing your relationship with them, you're healing the part of yourself that was attracting that dynamic in the first place. As you continue this practice, you'll notice that your thoughts become less obsessive, your energy feels lighter, and different types of people start showing up in your life. It's like tuning into a completely different radio station. Suddenly you're receiving broadcasts that match your healed vibration rather than your wounded one. This is the real power of spiritual evolution, understanding that everyone in your life is a reflection of your own consciousness, and when you heal yourself, you literally change the world you experience. So there you have it, the real reason why your thoughts have been working against you instead of for you, and the exact roadmap to break free from these obsessive patterns that have been sabotaging your relationships and your spiritual journey. But here's the thing, knowledge without action is just entertainment. You can watch 100 videos about quantum physics and consciousness, you can read every book by Joe Dispenza and Neville Goddard, but until you actually start practicing Ho'oponopono and feeling your emotions without getting lost in the stories, nothing in your reality will change. The universe doesn't respond to what you know, it responds to what you consistently do. I want you to ask yourself right now, are you ready to stop being a victim of your own thoughts? Are you ready to release the familiar pain that's been keeping you stuck in cycles of lack and limitation? Are you ready to step into the version of yourself that attracts love through being, not through desperately thinking and chasing? Because the person you've been obsessing over is just a messenger, showing you exactly where your energy is stuck and what needs to be healed. The moment you start using these tools and taking responsibility for your own vibrational frequency, you'll be amazed at how quickly your entire reality shifts. Your higher self has been trying to get your attention through these obsessive thoughts, showing you the patterns that need to be released so you can step into your true power as a conscious co-creator. Every time you practice Ho'oponopono, every time you feel an emotion without needing to fix it or understand it, every time you choose presence over mental chaos, you're literally rewiring your nervous system and changing your energetic signature. This isn't just about relationships, this is about becoming the person who naturally attracts abundance, prosperity, and genuine connection in every area of life. The spiritual teachers who understand these principles don't chase energy, they become magnets for it. They don't obsess over outcomes, they trust the process of expansion and evolution. They don't try to control other people through their thoughts, they focus on healing themselves and watch as their external world transforms to match their internal state. This is the difference between someone who struggles with relationships their entire life and someone who effortlessly attracts the right people at the right time. Which version of yourself are you going to choose? If this video has opened your eyes to the hidden dynamics of consciousness and energy that most people never understand, then you're ready for the deeper teachings that will completely transform your spiritual journey. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because I'm going to be sharing advanced techniques for manifestation, consciousness expansion, and energetic mastery that you won't find anywhere else. The next video is going to reveal the 3 specific childhood wounds that create obsessive thinking patterns, and how to heal them using quantum field therapy. Your future self, the one who's completely free from these mental prisons, is waiting for you to take action. Are you ready to meet them?